Good evening. That can work. No. All right. Oh boy. Been a long day. Not as long as some days. I'm going to talk briefly tonight about my ongoing concern about the major differences between in healthcare coverage for people dealing with the addicted phase of their substance use disorder. Time and time again, I'm driving down the driveway here for a second. I'm driving down the driveway here at Recovery Centers of America where I serve as a driver. And again today, I had the privilege of bringing somebody in who was tired of their substance use that was increasingly getting deeper in the addicted phase of it. Now let me back up a bit and as sort of a refresher, because I know that, there's some folks here that are not as involved with this. The way I see it, anybody can have substance use disorder, just like anybody can have diabetes, as one example. This is an analogy. It doesn't fit exactly, but for what I'm trying to talk about, it's a reasonable analogy. You can have substance use disorder. You can have diabetes. With diabetes, the body's not doing what it's supposed to do. The pancreas, I guess it is not doing what it's supposed to do to create insulin. And that can be corrected through diet and so forth. If you eat too many sugary cookies, for example, you might throw off your body's processes that regulate the stuff that diabetes regulates. You get out of whack, you become a diabetic. You don't become a person with diabetes, you become a diabetic. Try to transpose this analogy. A person can have substance use disorder and have it completely under control because they're not using any substances. They're staying away from the substances. They're staying out of the bar. They're staying away from the streets of Kensington. They're staying away from former friends who are doing all these things, who are still doing them. They're sticking with support and so forth. I'm Meg. Good to see you. In that sense, yes, they have substance use disorder that is under control. They're staying on top of the life settings that turn substance use disorder into addicted behavior. Substance use disorder in the addicted phase is when the substance, whether it be alcohol or any combination of drugs, begins to take over. And when I say take over the person's ability to function in society, to spend money on what needs to be spent on, i.e. things for their children, their own food, all the normal stuff. And so that's, to me, the addicted phase of substance use disorder. When somebody is in that addicted phase, we derogatorily call them addicts, and we tend to forget that it's a disease called substance use disorder. Flipping back to diabetes, if a person has diabetes and their body is out of control, we don't say, oh, that evil diabetic. How could they? They're pathetic. They're morally incompetent, etc. Oh, their diabetes is acting up. We don't derogatorily call them an addict or a diabetic. We say, oh, their diabetes is acting up. Let's correct it. Oh, you need to be hospitalized for that? No problem. Come on in. We'll take care of it for you. You have Medicaid and you need help with your diabetes? Hey, no problem. Come on in. We'll take care of it. We'll get it straightened up. We'll teach you how to eat better and so forth. But when it comes to the addicted phase of substance use disorder, we look at the person and say, you moral incompetent waste of life. Get out of here. Live under a bridge. I don't care if you die. It is so pathetic that our society takes that approach. Men and women with diabetes and men and women with substance use disorder are all men and women. Let's face the fact, society, that we are genuinely screwing up in our handling of this tragedy that is overcoming our nation and wiping out a generation or more of people. And so today, I had the privilege of bringing in one more person from the Center City area, Center City, Philadelphia, who earlier today got to the point where she said, I am sick of my substance use, called an 800 number, 1-800-RECOVERY, and they chatted for a while, got the insurance cleared, and then I picked them up in a big fancy car and brought them in, and they are at RCA now getting 5-star treatment, beginning their detox, when only a few hours ago they were at home saying, I am so tired of my substance use disorder that is overtaking my life. It is into the addicted phase where I'm starting to lose my ability to take care of my children, to go to work, to do all the normal stuff that I want to continue to do in life. And so they called 1-800-RECOVERY. Good Lord. A house ready for Christmas. Oh my God. You should see the lights on. I guess you did, right behind me there. You can see it a little bit. Wow. Not even Thanksgiving. Anyway. In the meantime, this week, Rick, are you watching? Somebody's watching. Somebody's watching. Meg, I guess you're watching. In the meantime, again, I'm speaking slowly so as not to divulge who I'm talking about, but in the meantime, on this past Sunday, one of my dear people on the street, who I love immensely, begged me to take them to detox. I did so, and the detox unit that I took them to felt that there was a medical issue going on beyond the substance use disorder. So we went to the hospital. This person had to be admitted to the hospital to work on healing from an infection. And they were doing a fine job with that, but all but ignoring the growing symptoms of dope sickness. And a day and a half later, she was in such agony. She signed out AMA, and we spent the entire day, Tuesday, finding alternatives for her detox care, and we found nothing. Medicaid failed. The hospital failed because they did not take into account just what I said. That substance use disorder is a disease on the same level as any other, for example, this infection. In this case, the infection that she needed to be cleared, that needed to have cleared up. The infection and the substance use disorder, both disease processes that should have been dealt with equally, not we're going to take care of one and then take care of the other, when in fact the infection process was a direct result of the combination of the substance use in its addicted phase and living on the street. And so the hospital has failed this person tremendously. And not only failed, but in follow-up conversation, as this person was on the phone with one of the higher executives at Recovery Centers of America about the theoretical possibility of her coming there on scholarship, which has not yet happened. She said, if I come there, you're not going to call me an addict, are you? Because I hate that. I'm not an addict. I'm a human being. This young person said that very clearly in the midst of her dope sickness as we sat on the curb outside of Mercy Hospital. Oh, did I mention the hospital's name? I'm sorry. Sarcasm. That was quite a scene. I'm just going to back up and get a little emotional on you. I pleaded with her not to sign out. But the addicted phase had her. The addicted phase had her partly because it's an outrageous battle, but partly because the hospital failed her miserably in not providing the comfort care that she needed to get through the detox phase of her addiction. And so after we signed out, we had 2 or 3 bags of stuff that we're carrying. And we walked out and we just sat on the curb outside Mercy Hospital, the main entrance, which is right next to the emergency room. And I made a couple phone calls and we sat there and we actually just, she cried in my arms because she was scared. And I just held her. We both started crying, sitting there on the curb. Because here she had begged to get off the street, and the street was suddenly pulling her back. Oh boy. And so that moment of sitting on the curb was, I'm not sure exactly, call it 10 a.m. Tuesday morning. After driving all over trying to figure out how to make something work, I finally just said goodbye to her at her family's house there in Kensington. And I haven't heard from her since, but I've heard from a family member. So we've got some communication going. That's right, Meg. Most can't get help. It's tragic. Actually, the Suboxone clinic is one of the current options. So, Meg, tell me publicly or privately, whatever you're more comfortable with, but did you actually go to a rehab? I'd be interested in hearing that, because I mean, everybody's journey is different. Some people just don't have to go to a rehab. Call it the grace of God, call it whatever you want. Some people just within themselves, the addiction thing shuts off. That's very rare. Very rare. You just have to call it a miracle. On your own. Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Alright, so I see two people watching. Rick, welcome back to Facebook, Rick. Whew. That Tuesday was exhausting, but good in so many ways. Sad in many ways, and good in many ways. I was able to see, in the midst of all the attempts to find healing for this incredible young lady, I was able to see the depth of her determination, because there were at least 4 times when she could have disappeared from my presence in Kensington and just given up. But she didn't. She stuck with me the whole time. No, she stuck with herself, with her determination. I was the taxi driver. But she stuck by her determination. And at the end of the day, she said she was scared for herself because nothing worked. And so I come back to my original question that I posed on Facebook, and the answers went in a totally different direction that had nothing to do with my original question. If you or I have some incident happen and we wind up with an injury, or if you or I suddenly become ill in, whatever way, we go to the hospital or the clinic and we say, hi, I have this injury or I have this illness. Patch me up, make me better. And they say, let's see your insurance card, and you give them the insurance card and they patch you up or make you better. But with Medicaid-reliant, addicted phase of substance use disorder, you have to crawl on this very thin cliff that dangles on the edge of Medicaid Mountain. And for a while there, Sunday into Monday, and then into Tuesday morning, my dear friend, who Meg you probably know, was on the edge of that cliff, working on slowly getting to the other side of the mountain on this razor-thin ledge on the side of the cliff of Medicaid Mountain. And the agony of untreated dope sickness symptoms pushed her over the side of the cliff, and down she went. And so now she's out there doing everything possible not to do heroin, laced with who knows what it's laced with these days. Desperately trying not to date, knowing full well that every potential date, especially in the absence of a phone when she can't be quite as selective with her customers, since she can't call select ones, she runs the higher risk of being raped again. Slight pause here. I'm going through one of the tornado damage areas, the trees. I mean, I had just driven through this area about this time a week ago tonight, driving through here in the rain, and the tornado blew it through here. Unbelievable damage right here that you can't save it. I missed it. I missed getting killed by those trees back there by just a matter of a few minutes. And there's two other sections up here along the road. This tornado must have just hopscotched all over the place. One branch actually did shatter my back window, but I could have been killed that day. And they say Kensington's dangerous. Ha! We have tornadoes out here. So the system failed her. She has fallen off the cliff. Her only path, hiking up Medicaid Mountain on her way to health. And so there must be a way found where anyone who gets to the point, as she was Sunday, of saying, I am sick of this, I am done with this. Anybody who gets to that point should be able to walk into any emergency room, any clinic, any doctor's office, and say, I'm here, I'm sick of my addiction, I'm sick of dating, I am sick of sleeping on the street. Help me. And they immediately get the help that they need. None of this sitting around for hours and hours and hours looking for a bed. Good God. Over 1,100 people died last calendar year. And that doesn't count the people who were saved by Narcan. The number would have been a lot higher. So there must be a way found for people to get the treatment, get the comfort care, the absolute best possible comfort care, and create an environment of connection that connects people with society once again. immediately upon their decision. So I'm going up tomorrow. I'm looking around. There's always a few deer right in this location. I don't see them right now. Huh, interesting. Deer are creatures of habit, I've noticed, as I do this drive at 11 o'clock. It's like there's certain deer that will always be in the same exact spot every time. Oh boy. Oh, you still have my card. Do you have the one, the picture of Banana Man's on the front? Is the picture, like the background of that picture, is it bright white or is it darker? And does Banana Man have legs, or is he without legs? Here's a question for you, Meg. Oh, by the way, I am now in the other section where a whole bunch of trees went down just after I drove through here. I'm now in front of the Malvern School, which is in Glen Mills, so that's a little bit odd. But it was right about through here when the rain started coming down harder than anything. And I got right about here, and the wind was so strong, leaves blowing around so much, I couldn't see a thing. And then it let up a little bit. And I got in front of the Glen Mills post office right here. And a very large tree branch that is still sitting right there nailed my car. Nailed the side of my car and broke out the window. Put a big dent in the door. So I was driving up here thinking, do I just park back there and wait this out, or do I slowly drive? And I decided to slowly drive in hopes that I could get out of here, and there was one tree that I had to work my way around. Debris was everywhere. So I got up here to in front of Glen Mills School. That's a beautiful property. Not knowing that there was a tornado like right over there someplace. Destroyed at least 8 houses. It was an F2 tornado, which is bigger than an F1 tornado. Oh boy. I'm out in Glen Mills, Delaware County. Near, let's see, if you've ever heard of the Concordville Inn. It's a very fancy restaurant. It's now part of the Best Western Hotel, but the Concordville Inn itself actually was an inn back in the days of the Revolution. And it's documented that George Washington ate dinner there a few times. Or at least once. So yeah, I got right about here 1 week ago today and called the police and told them there were trees down back there, and the dispatcher said that they've been getting reports like crazy for this whole area, and this is where the tornado was just going right through here. By the grace of God, I missed it all but one tree branch. One very large tree branch. Oh boy. So I heard about the Glen Mills School. Yeah, really. Yeah, the scandal. Well, that's the exact school, right? It's a beautiful campus. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Beautiful old campus. Old style buildings and the whole bit. So I am hoping that they can get reorganized and come back and do what they were doing. Well, the good parts of what they were doing. From what I understand, their mission was to help mostly teenage boys reorganize after whatever crimes they got themselves involved in. And here's the other damaged area that I drove through. None of this damage was here yet when I came through. So it's just like, wow, I could have gotten killed so many times on that trip home. 1 week ago tonight. Yeah, thank you, Meg. Speaking of George Washington, the house to my left here, can't really see it at night, is our nation's oldest continuous running post office. It was actually a post office before the postal system was officially put together. And the same house served as a hospital for wounded colonial soldiers at the Battle of Brandywine. They would be brought here and patched up, healed. I guess a bunch died also, but and here's a little bit of trivia. That house was owned by a family, last name was Gray, and the women of the Gray family acted as the nurses and so forth as their house was being used as the hospital for the injured soldiers at the Battle of Brandywine. They were the Gray Ladies. They became known as the Gray Ladies. And you might know that term referring to women who volunteer in hospitals. It's sort of a nickname, the Gray Ladies. I always thought it meant older women who volunteer in hospitals. They have gray hair kind of thing, that idea. But it partially means that. But that phrase, the Gray Ladies, is a direct reference to the ladies named Gray who volunteered to be the nurses in that house during the Battle of Brandywine. Furthermore, I'm getting way off topic, but sometimes you just got to think about other stuff to keep your mind fresh. At the Battle of Brandywine, a few miles that way, it's the only documented moment when a British soldier had George Washington in the scope of his rifle ready to shoot him. Realized that it was the commanding officer of the enemy army and knew it was against protocol to kill the leading officer. Back in those days, war was polite, sort of. And that is the only documented time when George Washington was in the scope of the enemy rifle, and the enemy British soldier would have had a clean shot at killing George Washington at the Battle of Brandywine, just a few miles from here, and did not do it because it was against war protocol. So there's a couple pieces of Revolutionary War trivia for this historic area. Concordville Inn is right in front of me. My apartment's right there. I am really tired. So Meg, thank you for watching as I drive in my parking area. All right, I'm home. Meg, thanks for watching. Pass along these thoughts. Stay safe, stay everything. Stay good to yourself. You're a good person. You're a fine person. I'm tired. I think I'm going to go to bed. So, keep us in your prayers. Keep our friend, of course I'm not saying who, but I think you know. She's been out there a long time. Wonderful young lady. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Have a great night.